Welcome, Jamyala, our friends Basu, Durga, sitting. Arrived this morning from Nepal. Locho sampo pa gyu trashi pa tuche tempe tinle yarngo da pege drolor zampe zebra chen pande lame shabla solwa de Omo a guru vajradara sumati munisha sanekar Uta vardani shri badra varsa manya sarva siddhi hu Om Guru Vajradara Sumati Monisha Uta Vardani Shri Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Hum Om Guru Vajradara Sumati Monisha Saneka Uta Vardani Shri Bhadra Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Hum Om Guru Vajradara Sumati Monisha Sanekar Uta Vardani Shri Bhadra Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Hum Om Guru Vajradara Sumati Monisha Sanekar Uta Vardani Shri Bhadra Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Hum Om Guru Vajradara Sumati Monisha Uta Vardani Shri Bhadra Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Hum Om Guru Vajradara Sumati Monisha Sani Uta Vardani Shri Bhadra Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Hum Om Guru Vajradara Sumati Monisha San Nishri Bhadra Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Hum Om Guru Vajradara Sumati Monisha Saneka Uta Vardani Shri Bhadra Varsa Manya Sarva Siddhi Hum Dagi Jitsun Lama Tuje Che Nyamda Dala Tuje Siksu So Gebe Shesan Dala Tendo So Uyon Sunge Nawa Tsedo So Tseje Ningne Soa Debe Tse Dejen Korlo Visu Lekshune Yila Sambe Dede Malup Gemel Hunge Drubra Chinge Lo Tsoni Sodan Diktun Shapet Dunge Namge Yin Su Lekshune Lapchen Tsoni Yonsu Zopa Dan Chera Nyedun Chanwara Chingil Chancho Pargin Yinsen Tukuntu Nyu Peme Siudru Lekshun Chancho Drube Gegen Kunsh Dela Drubra Chinge Lo Dagi Lona Chola Chemi Samjur Nimba Shiva Dan Chedan Timbe Dede Malupa Bemel Hungi Drubra Chingilo Dorna Tingne Tserawa Tamcheda Techi Pardo Negav Tamchetu Rese Kyamne Lama Kileme Tukje Chingi Dala Siksus Gongyab Drewe Nyamda Dachala Jitsun Lame Tuje Rabgong Kodan Sungi Nawa Drame Tu NgalSo Nyongwe Kesan Tobrash Kewa Kunto Yanda Lama Dan Drame Cheki Sadan Lamge Yunte Rabzone Dorje Changi Kopa Nyurtob Shoya Pakyuke Kodan Dagi Lua Pakyuke Sundanda Pakyuke Tudan Dagi Tön Yerme Çiktu Çingi Lua Makyuke Kodan Dagi Lua Makyuke Sundan Dagi Makyuke Tudan Dagi Tön Yerme Çiktu Chingelo. Om Muni Mahamuni Shakyamuni Swaha. Om Muni Mahamuni Shakyamuni Swaha. Om Muni Mahamuni Shakyamuni Swaha. Sashipeke Choshiameto Tramare Rabalingashi Nide Gempadi Sange Shinto Mikte Ulwarki Drokunam Dashing Chöpar Shoyedam Guru Ratna Mindrala Kamniryatayami Sangye Chedan Tsoge Chonam La Chancho Pardo Dani Kyapsuchi Dagi Chushe Gibe Sonam Ki Drola Pinchra Sangye Drupar Shua Sangye Chedan Tsoge Chonam La Chancho Pardo Dani Kyapsuchi Dagi Jinso Gibes Drola Pinchra Sangye Drupar Shua Sangye Chedan Tsoge Chonam La Chancho Pardo Dani Kyapsuchi Dagi Jinso Gibe Sonam Ki Drola Pinchra Sangye Drupar Shua. Nel Buddha, nel Dharma e nel Sangha prendo rifugio fino all'illuminazione. Con la pratica della generosità e delle altre perfezioni possa io ottenere lo stato di Buddha per il beneficio di tutti gli esseri senzienti. In the Buddha, Dharma and Sangha, I take refuge until enlightenment. Through the practice of generosity and the other perfections, may I attain Buddhahood for the benefit of all sentient beings. Hai ke da ludan jin ke rubondan da mi ke nam dan ro kun ge janam chi champa tamche ke to da ge cheten to tamche ke to da ge cheten. Buongiorno. Good morning. Lorena, chiudi la porta per piacere, premendo il tasto, che se no c'è una parte della mia mente che è lì che la porta. Se no, no, se no serve qualcuno alto, che c'è il tasto lì in mezzo, accendere e spegnere e ritorna alla sua normalità. Vai là, ok, ci fa fuori già, ok. Okay. You know, when we need to do something where we need to place our attention, for me, sometimes happen if there is something that keeps one side of the mind, it's there. So that's why I said, otherwise no problem. It's just one part of my mind was there. Still there. Se no c'è Jerry appena lì fuori che... Solo per quello, perché... Vediamo. Ok, eccolo lì. Ok. Now already someone taking care, so the mind can go free. Okay. This is one of the reasons why when we want to go more seriously in our practice, it is important for us to be in a context in which we are free from objects of strong attraction and strong aversion. Otherwise, what happens is the fact of the... Otherwise, what happens is that today we need special training, no problem. This reminded me, there was a friend of my friend. He was meditating in the north of India in a city called Dharamsala. And he studied, he finished his studies, he went to go to a place where to meditate in the mountains, and he stayed there for many years, meditating in the very far away, remote place, like one small little hut in the mountains alone. And after staying there for maybe 15 years, whatever, he came back down to the monastery. So when he arrived, the organization of the monastery gave him a room on the most remote area, the most side, so it had no noise, no? But every morning he would wake up very early, and he would go walking to one friend's house that had his house in front of the bus station. And there was a balcony that was looking towards the bus station. And he would sit on the balcony to meditate. Because one way is that once you are able to keep a good level of concentration in silence, you need to train yourself to keep the same level of concentration where there is no silence. So he would do in this way. But then there is another story also of another friend. He arrived in the monastery in India, and he wanted so much to go for retreat. He wanted to dedicate his life for meditation and retreat. So he arrived, and he went to my master there, Geshe Tupten Rinpoche, and he said, please, I'd like to dedicate my life in retreat. And he said, very good, but first you need to study. If you don't have a good understanding of Dharma, then you meditate on what? He said, okay, you need to study first the part which is called the Paramita and Madhyamika, which is the gradual path to enlightenment and correct view of reality. At least these you need to finish to study. He said, okay, which altogether means 13 years of study. He said, okay. So he went. He diligently studied very well. He did all the 13 years of study, more or less, around 13, 15, whatever it took. And when he finished, he went to Geshe Tripteniche and said, okay, now I have finished, I want to go for retreat. Geshe said, wonderful. So he received all the instructions on how to go on retreat. He took like few months of specific instructions on how to meditate during retreat, how to make a life of retreat, and so on. They found a family that would take care of him, so he didn't need to worry much about livelihood. So there was a family that had a small place for him to stay in a remote area, and they would give him food and so on. So everything was very settled well. And he left for retreat. And he was supposed to stay in retreat for a lifetime, like long-term retreat. After a few months, he came back. And then this my teacher told me, no? And he said, why are you here? He said, I'm so ashamed. He said, I am there, supposedly doing the retreat. There is this family so kind to me. And Geshe asked him, but it's not okay, you are not fine? He said, no, everything is wonderful, actually. I am in a nice place, I have everything, this family takes such good care of me. But I am so ashamed because I feel like I am, lying to them. I am, a scam. I am cheating somehow. And he said, but why? You are not doing your practice? He said, yes. But he said, he said, are you following the instructions? He said, yes. Then what is the problem? He said, I sit to meditate. I start doing everything as I'm supposed to do. It's going quite okay. Then suddenly appears in my mind the images of the Bollywood films. These little dances that they do in Bollywood with the songs. And this is like it comes to his mind. Because during the 13 years that he was studying, other than Dharma, he really liked going to the movies. And when you do something that is prohibited, it sticks more. And in the monastery, you're not supposed to go to the movies. So it's quite often that some monks, they would escape and go like hidden way to look sometimes some movie from Bollywood, no? And so he had these images in his mind so strongly. He said, I would sit down to meditate and I just have these images of all these movies I saw, and the images are there running and running around in my mind, and I'm not able to take them away. So finally I am meditating on what? On Bollywood movies, So he said, I feel really ashamed of this. Then Geshe gave him some instructions and said, okay, don't worry, and so on. And then he didn't come back. So we don't know if he became an expert on Bollywood movies or if he was able to go beyond it. No? I think he was able to go beyond it. But this is an example to say that everything that we see, that we listen, that we experience, remains an imprint in our mind. And the stronger is the experience, the stronger is the imprint that remains in our mind. And when we go off to meditate, I remember when I did, many years ago, I was 15 or 16 years old, I did a 6-week retreat alone. I didn't see anyone for 6 weeks. I was just by myself, doing the 4 sessions a day, 12 hours of practice, reading Lamrim in between. It was a very nice retreat. And I saw that in the first week, as I would sit down to do the practice, the thoughts of the things that happened recently would come. I saw this person, I listened to this, and then they start coming. And then I don't give importance to them, they slowly fade away. Then what start coming? The memories from the past. And they start appearing. Up to then there are moments of things that start to appear that like, I didn't even remember I had such memory, And then they start up manifesting. And actually by the end of the 6th week is when I felt that I was really ready to start. Okay? Because you need some time. It's like when you mix water with sand. You need to stop mixing and to give the right time for the sand to come down so the water can become clear. And in our mind happens the same. We are always mixing. Our mind is always being mixed with external objects, with objects of attraction, objects of aversion, with worries, with fear, with attachment, with so many types of distractions. So when we stop mixing, it's still there, everything there.
And then we need to give time so that it slowly, slowly comes down. Then when it comes down, then we can have much, much better clarity. And it's much possible to have a much more deeper level of experience also. Okay? But that's one of the reasons why there is the concept of going for retreat. You know, when we say retreat, the word in Tibetan is tsam. Tsam means border. To place a border. The border of objects of distraction. You know? Nowadays, we can go for retreat in a very remote area, mountain house. But if we have this terrible object with us, then we are not in retreat. Because we have no place, no border for our mind, for our distractions. So one of the important things is that, okay, I will bring another thing together with this. So first thing, the more we have distractions, more objects to perceive, the more our mind is jumping from one thing to the other, the more it's difficult for us to focus into something. You know? And our mind has this very particular characteristic, not only our mind, our body, our whole being actually. It's not a matter of mind or body, both. There is this very particular characteristic that it shapes in accordance to experience. It's like, if you train the body correctly, we can do incredible things with the body. Or not? You know, there is like things that most of us would not even imagine is possible. And if we train the mind, it's the same. But how do you train the body or the mind? By repetition. Repeat, 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 repeat. And slowly it becomes easy. Right? The very important thing that we need to all understand, many of us already know, but we need to remind ourselves, is that we have no choice of training or not training the mind. We are constantly training the mind. You know? When we start watching a TV series, are we training the mind? Yes. You know? For example, there are people that they watch a series, and when they finish watching the series, they watch like 1-2 episodes one day, in the evening. Then during the day, is that episodes present or they are completely gone? They are present. Then there is anxiety. What is happening next? This thing inside. So it's present during the day. And the other thing is that when finish one, I need another. So I'm getting used to it. I'm familiarizing myself. I'm training my mind to have that type of distraction. And since we are very small, our mind is used to have one object of perception and stay into it, and then after consciously moving to another and doing things slowly, or we are used to have one thing here, one there, go from one to another and move fast. What are we used to? We are used to that, right? This is one of the reasons that when we sit to meditate and we try to bring our mind to one object, it's difficult, not because meditating is difficult. It's difficult because we are not used to it. Our mind is used for jumping from one object to the other and going fast. So when you try to bring the mind to stay in one object, we are going in the opposite direction of the habit that we have. If you take someone that have the habit of having the mind calm and one object at a time, and you try to put many things one after the other, it's difficult. It's a matter of habit. So our mind is like this. So we are training the mind, everything we do. When we complain, we are training ourselves in complaining. When we rejoice, we are training ourselves in rejoicing. And like this is how our mind is made. So we are constantly training our mind. That's why also when we have the commentaries on the different practices on Vajrayana Buddhism, like self-healing, or Yamantaka, or Guya Samaja, or Vajrayogini, or any other practice on the Vajrayana. The whole commentary of the practice is divided into two parts, the actual practice. How to practice during meditation session, and how to practice in between meditation sessions. Because the practice is a training. And our training, it's any moment. So we need to train when we sit to meditate, is a specific type of training. And then when we are talking, walking, eating, working, sleeping, it's another type of training. But it's always training. We are always shaping our mind. So it's an important thing that we need to remind ourselves. It doesn't matter what we do. It doesn't matter with whom we are, in what context we are constantly shaping ourselves. If we use another term, we are constantly training our body, our mind, our self as a whole. Okay? So, there is no such thing like, I do this, but it's just for now, anyhow, after I don't do anymore. Whatever we do, in the moment that we do, we are not only experiencing the present moment, we are also training ourselves, shaping ourselves for the future. I think it's clear, no? Okay? So this is one part of the important thing of our mind connected to the practice. That's why we need to repeat. We need to generate and familiarize ourselves with a state of peace, with a state of love, with a state of gratitude, of compassion. Familiarize ourselves with the qualities that we want truly to develop. Okay? And we do this during meditation and outside of meditation. Okay? And one of the aspects is our mind being distracted, because we are used to having so many objects. So one of the simple advices that I have is, please try as much as you can to eliminate objects of distractions that are not truly necessary. For example, I remember when I arrived I was in India, and I had my first computer. Not my first computer, the first computer I had when I was 6. It was running on OS-DOS. There was no mouse, no graphics. That's when I started with my cousin. Anyhow, that's another thing. But when I was in India, I had one computer, and I was very happy with it. I really liked it, and so on. I was 13, I think. And then Rinpoche came to India, and Lama Rinpoche gave me the simple advice. He said, you need to apply no rules, like of when you can use the computer or when you cannot, you should not use the computer. No such things as you cannot use the computer outside of these hours or anything like that. He said, but my thing is, you use it for what you need. Use it for a purpose. When you need to do something with it, you use it, but not as a goal in itself. And it's the same. You take, if we look in our days, you have the phone, you have a social media, you have email or news, whatever. It's a tool, it's not a goal in itself. So why do I take it? Because I need to do something. I like to say this to that person. I like to listen to what the other person is saying. I like to understand what is happening here. I need to know something we use for a purpose. But very often, we use these objects not for a particular purpose other than distracting ourselves. If we want to distract ourselves, okay, that's a purpose. It's a choice that you have. Okay? The problem is that the more we distract the mind, the more we get used to distraction, and we have anxiety when we are not in distraction. Okay? The problem is that when we are very, very used for distraction and having constantly sense objects, when you just try to be by yourself, it's not enough. There comes this sort of fear and anxiety. What I do, there is no sounds playing, no images going on, nothing outside. I'm just by myself. Oh, okay, I'm ready for that or not, Instead, it's so beautiful. Imagine how nice that you can just go there, be with yourself and say, oh, how nice. Oh, what a good company. Oh, I feel so good. Once I listened one master saying, he was Hindu master, he was saying, when you sit in silence and you are all by yourself and you don't feel good, it means you are not in good company. Then you are in trouble. You know? So one of our goals is to feel that when we are just with ourselves, we are in the best company possible. That we are well with ourselves. And to do that, one of the things is we need to diminish, make less objects of distraction outside. Less stimulation of our senses. So that we can just be with ourselves. And this we can feel the pleasure of it. And by that we can learn also to be well with others. This is one part connected to it. Okay? So the mind is always training itself, and we need to slowly take away the objects of distraction which are not necessary. So for example, talking. I don't say we need to take the vow of silence. I remember one time we were traveling in Tibet, a few times, and there were some people that took the vow of silence. But I felt so strange because I saw in a few situations where the person had, I don't even remember who it was, but had the vow of silence. So had a little thing like I am in silence, so basically I'm not to talk. But then had a little board to write, and was like in the round of people gossiping and talking. And then one wanted to say something, just wrote it and show. And the point is that for me, if I make a vow of silence, is actually more listening than talking. It's not like I am not supposed to talk. It's I need to take away distractions. So I say the best is we make a commitment, we give a try. Okay, you can give a try, starting with 1 day, then few days, then 1 week. Make the commitment to say just what is necessary. If you are in a situation and you say, do I need to say or not? I don't say. Because very often we say things because we want to say, not because it's needed. I remember very situations where there is a group discussing about something, and suddenly the discussion object is clear. There's nothing more that needs to be said. But someone still wants to say something, and then you say, but it's already clear, but I want to say my idea. I want to say what I want, but it's already been decided, it's already clear, your idea is the same as they know, but I need to say. No? And we have this need often to talk and to say and to do, and this brings also more, how to say, a movement of our mind outwards. So say what is necessary and try to listen what is necessary. Same thing, reading, watching, and so on. Try to make less objects of distraction. Okay? And with this, like if you are at home and suddenly you feel, oh, but I have not much to do, just sit and breathe. And try to find the bliss in your own self. You know? This is something that it's a very powerful tool. But to do this, there is one little problem, difficulty, let's say. I don't know how often you enter when you are without external objects of distraction, how much you enter into inner dialogue. Okay? So there is this, no, because this and that, no, I should, no, but there is all this very busy inner reality, you know? I had few experiences which I don't know exactly how to describe it, but I had few experiences in which outside I was very slow, but inside my mind was moving very fast. So similar to that, sometimes we are there, looks everything calm, but inside we are talking and this and that. So where is this inner dialogue coming from? Because first thing, inner dialogue brings us energy and clarity, or drains our energy and brings us mental unclarity, because normally when there is this inner dialogue, it's not constructive. It's mainly manifesting a conflict that we have inside. Okay? So where is this constant dialogue coming from? Because this is one of the interferences for our practice, okay? I will talk about my own experience. Maybe it's fitting the same for you, maybe not. For whatever reasons, I don't have so much inner dialogue. And not having much inner dialogue, when the inner dialogue comes, I can see clearly where it's coming from. Because normally it's not there. I understood this the first time once I was talking to my mom many years ago, and I said, I don't think much. Which is like this, you can put me there, you leave me there, I'm there. Then you take me after 5 hours, I'm still there, okay, I don't have so much of this. And my mom said, no, it's not that you don't think much. Since you were a very small boy, you have no inner dialogue. It's like you would come back from school, and I would say, how went today? And you would just say, fine. And you didn't have the need to tell what happened and discuss and this and that. There was not this need. So then from that I start observing when my mom said that, and I start to observe. And I saw that the moments in which I start to have more inner dialogue are the moments in which I have incoherence between what I think and what I feel. So I want something, but I know that it's better not. So where my understanding, what I know is what my thinking is basically based on the informations I receive and the logical reasoning. The feeling is based on our attachment, aversion, experiences, and so on. So when these two fit together, when they are matching, then we are in silence. Because we don't need to convince anything. When they start not to match, we have one part trying to convince the other, basically. So we have our logical reasoning, our thinking, trying to convince our emotions, then the emotions trying to convince our logic, and then we enter into that. Oh, should I be here? Should I not be here? Oh, maybe yes, but we go into that. So, how to pacify this? Okay. Again, I have a particular key that should work for everyone. I will share with you what I do for myself, which for myself works. Okay. First of all, I think it's very common, and our feelings based on our experiences very often are different from our own logical reasoning and understanding and thinking. So we cannot expect the two to fit perfectly to each other, to be exactly, not to fit to each other, to be the same. It will not be the same. But my understanding is like, imagine two persons with a very different character. Okay? One is very emotional and very spontaneous, and the other one is very logical and reasoning and so on. Can the two fit well together? Yes, no? But what is necessary for the two to fit well together? They need, first of all, to respect each other. They need to start from a place in which they don't want to change the other. In which each one of them recognize the qualities of the characteristics of the other, and they see that the other one is complementing them and is not a threat to them. So I have, let's say I am very logical and I am together with a person that is more emotional and more intuitional and so on. And then I need to see that actually it's complementing me. It's not a threat to my way of being, to me. When this happens from both sides, then it's possible to learn how to go together, and then becomes much stronger. No? It's like Lama Ganchen Rinpoche gave a lot of importance for 3 animals. We should have them sure they are in different places depicted here. In the door, if you look in the door, there is the part with the elephant and so on. Then if you go down, there is a mountain with 3 animals depicted there. Okay? These are 3 mythological animals, which in Tibetan is called Mitun Yulgyal. Mitun Yulgyal means the victory from the union of the opposites. So basically the concept is these are mythological animals that they are half one animal, half another, that animals that in nature are enemies. So the concept is when you take the opposites and you unite them, then the impossible becomes possible. Then it's possible to overcome the greater difficulties and so on. So the opposite often are complementary. So if I am with someone that have a different way of mind, instead of needing to impose my way, if I want to impose my way to the other, then I am in conflict constantly. And if the other is trying to impose his or her way on me, then the conflict even gets bigger. Instead, if I respect you and you respect me, and I see in the way how you can complement myself and how can I complement you, and we have this exchange, then we can really go well together. Take some time to find the right fine-tuning to go well, but it's possible. The same thing is with our emotions, our feelings, and our thoughts. Okay? So, if we try to convince one from the other, then we can go on with a dialogue forever. If we see how they complement each other. You know? For example, there was one moment in my life in which there were very strong feeling in one direction and very strong thought in the opposite direction. And I saw that it consumed me for some time. Then I did one thing which I just said, okay, we need to find a right way. So I looked upon myself, I reflected, I allowed. What I did somehow, I tried to do some open listening, like one listening to the other, without judgment. Just listen first. Just try to see, you know. And in that case, finally, I just looked and I said, okay, I think the best from a logical perspective is to follow the feeling. So the logical mind, which was in conflict, got pacified because understood that on a logical way, the best was to follow the feeling. Even if in that specific case it was still not thinking in the same way, okay? I don't know if it's clear what I'm saying. Okay? It's like, should I play the bell or not? I want to play the bell, but I know that I shouldn't. Then, at one moment, I listen to one to the other, and I understand on a logical way that it's better to allow my feeling to go, to follow it one moment, to give a chance to it, I felt that this was the best. So even though I was still thinking that it was not a good idea to play the bell, thinking about the bell, I felt clearly that it was a good idea to allow me to follow my feeling. So I played the bell without being in conflict. I don't know if it's clear, this. Okay? So, the more we are able to have this conversation, and sometimes we will see and we'll say, okay, yes, I want, but I really know that I shouldn't. So I know that I will finally harm myself if I follow this attachment and this feeling. So from a more feeling way, and also I know it's better to follow my logic in this case. And then we are able to follow it without being in conflict. It's the same way from one to the other. And then slowly we can find this balance, you know. The more we can do this, the more we are able to have inner silence. And then we are able to have more clarity to direct our mind towards one thing or another, to meditate better. Okay. So, one advice on this is we need to cultivate a good friendship based on respect and care between what we think and what we feel. Okay? Because the two are complementary. To do this, we need to train ourselves also in awareness. We need to be able to observe ourselves, to look upon ourselves. We need to be able to be not very much, judgmental. We shouldn't blame ourselves. It's like, I followed the feeling and it didn't go well. Oh yes, you see, it was wrong. We don't need to go against. Okay, we tried, it didn't go this way. Okay, we go another, and we go together. This is important. Okay? Otherwise it becomes like, for example, I see, nowadays it happens less because there is the GPS to tell a road to take, no? But often would happen that we would take the car to go somewhere, then one person say, oh, you should take this road. No, we should take the other road. And what I saw happening is that at one point, one doesn't say anything, okay, we follow your road. And then whatever happens and it takes a little longer or something, you see, I told you that this was not the right road, etc. So it's not real acceptance, it's somehow, without really knowing what would happen in the other road. Huh? Maybe it was a big blockage in the other road, we don't know. So if I say, okay, today we go in your road, I am not pushing that it was maybe not a good idea. I really go together. This is something that is important. It's like when we are together and we choose to go in one direction, then we are really in that direction, independently if we agree or not. It's like we are a group. We choose together one direction, even if it's not the direction that I personally think is the best. If we choose together, then I give you my full support into it. Okay? This is something that I think it's very important. So, this is just, it was not at all what I was supposed to talk about this morning, but I just think it's an important point. Because the more we have this inner dialogue, the more we have inner anxiety, the more it's difficult really to sit down and calm our mind and direct our mind and so on. Okay? Another aspect, important. Our senses, all our senses, are very advanced actually. Are incredibly advanced in many ways. So for example, our hearing. The more the sounds are loud, the less sensitive is our hearing power. Right? The lesser strong are the sounds, the more our hearing sensitivity goes up. You know? Up to levels that we cannot even imagine. So I always, when telling this, I always remember a friend of Steve that is here in Albagnano. He was doing a retreat, a monk, doing a retreat in one retreat center in what's the name of that country? In Scotland. In the completely place far away from anything in Scotland. But then his retreat place became a route for military jets. So he said that one day he was there meditating and he felt like a jet passing on top of his head, like, okay, this is not working. So he had a retreat center there that was not anymore such a silent place. So he said, no problem. He decided to build a meditation bunker. So he built a thing under the ground, like a bunker, with no sound, whatever would come from inside, with air exchange system. He made like a real bunker for meditation, okay, like a modern cave. So he built it, took quite some time to build it and a lot of effort and so on. So when our friend was there, he just had said, okay, he was almost finishing his bunker for meditation, modern meditation cave, and he was very proud of it. He said, oh, then I will go into retreat, no distraction, it will be wonderful. Okay. A few months later, they talked together. Oh, how is your practice going? He said, how is your meditation bunker going there? He said, terrible. Very bad. Why? Is it too noisy? He said, no. But actually, yes. He said, the first day I go into the meditation bunker, I was so happy. I sit down there, no distraction. Oh, the planes can pass by, no problem. I close all the doors, I sit to meditate, it was going quite well. Then I start to listen suddenly to such strong noises. And they would not go away. The breath becomes so strong. It's like almost like a hurricane, very strong. Then any small movement, you listen to crack, crack, crack. And it's even possible to listen to hard beat. Then listen, even there is the possibility, you start at one point listening to the sound of the circulation of the blood. So, I heard once that the world record in such type of chambers is 40 minutes. Because when there is no external sound, we start listening to the sounds of the body itself. So the sensitivity of our hearing goes so much higher that we start listening to the most subtle sounds. It is clear. Okay? The same thing is with smell, with taste, with touch, with light, what we see. And the same thing is also with our mind. So the more the object of perception is gross, is strong, is gross, the less subtle is our perception. The more the object becomes subtle, the more subtle becomes also our senses. Okay? And in our mind, the gross objects of perception are basically the images of what we see, what we listen, what we touch, what we taste, what we smell. The memories of it from the past, the projections of it to the future. Okay? Then, on a deeper level, we have our sensations. And then still on a deeper level, we have intuition. And there are still other deeper levels also of mind. So, which are non-conceptual. So how can I perceive it? Because, for example, one very important level in our life is our own intuition. So how do we know that something is intuition and something is just mental dialogue? Okay. First of all, in order to be able to listen to our intuition, we need silence, mental silence. So we need to take away all this more gross level of thinking and judging and going back and live. And then when we have this sort of silence, we can have something coming up. That's why even there are different scientists and different people, like even business people and so on, that when they really needed to make an important decision, they would go for a walk in nature. Because then you create silence from all the other distractions. And then suddenly, where you less expect, there is a thought coming with an idea, a clear thought, and like intuition and so on. So that's an important thing for us to be able to listen to. So it's important for us to allow ourselves to go on a deeper perception. So we need to make the senses of our mind to become more subtle. Up to a moment, which is not the final, but in between, there is a moment in which we start to be able to observe our own actions. So first we have awareness of what we say, what we listen, what we do. Then we start to have awareness of what we feel. Then we start to have awareness of our emotions when they are still more subtle and about to come. And we start to see our own games of our mind even before they are clearly manifested. And the more we are able to go on a subtle level of perception, the more we can direct ourselves on that level. And this makes the whole thing easier. Okay? So this is one of the reasons why we meditate. Okay? Because then our perception will go on a deeper level. We will be able to understand and to see things that normally we are not, because we are too much busy. Our senses is more gross because we are too busy with more gross things in our mind. Okay? Okay, last thing before we go to the point of today. They are all building blocks to get where we want to get, okay? Our mind has one very specific characteristic. Have you ever tried to eliminate a thought? Yes? Were you able? What happens when you have a thought and you say, I don't want this thought? It sticks, you know. My feeling is like, imagine you take something in your hands that is very greasy and sticky, and you want to throw it away, and the more you move, the more it gets stick, you know. Okay? So how to eliminate a thought? We need to generate an opposite thought. Whenever there is a level in our mind, a perception, which can be emotion or logical or any level, in order to eliminate it, we need to generate a direct opposite mode of apprehension. Making a very basic example. If I have the thought, I don't like water, and I may always make this example because there was a long period in my life which I had a strong thought, I don't like water. I even remember the day it started. I was very young, I think I was 7 or 6 or something, and I remember myself in front of this water dispenser. I took the glass and I decided from that moment that I didn't like water. I don't know why. Okay, but the fact is that this idea stick in my mind. I don't like water. Okay, so I can think about many things. I can say water is good for my health. Water is fresh. Water is pure. I can go and say many qualities of water. Is this enough to take away the thought I don't like water? Okay. To eliminate the thought I don't like water, what I need to generate? I like water. We are not able to think at the same time, I like water and I don't like water. Can we do the two thoughts together? No. So our mind is not able to have two direct opposite thoughts at the same time. In Tibetan we use the term, we are not able to have two thoughts with a direct opposite mode of apprehension. Okay. So if I want to eliminate a certain emotion, a certain perception, a certain thought, what I need to do? I need to generate the direct opposite one, which we call the antidote. So when we say the antidote, we mean a thought, an emotion, a mode of apprehension, which is directly opposite to the one that we want to eliminate. Okay? If it's not directly opposite, it may help, but will not solve. Okay? So, one of the key points of our path, which it is very clearly in self-healing, it's part inside self-healing, is that there are different types of emotions, different types of modes of apprehension, of perceptions, of ways of our mind and self that are harmful to us. So we need to eliminate. So the harmful one we can see as a darkness, and the antidote is like the light. Because that's why actually when we do self-healing, there is one thing that we say sometimes, which it's okay, because on a practical level it works, but on a more philosophical level it's not precise. Okay? For example, there is the moment in which we say, okay, we take all the anger from the heart chakra and we eliminate the anger. Technically that's not possible, philosophically speaking. I cannot eliminate the anger. What I can do is then I can stop nourishing the anger, but I can connect myself to the antidote, like I bring the light, and as the light comes in, naturally the darkness goes away. as I have a glass with one substance, as I put another one inside, naturally the one that was before starts going out. Okay? So, in self-healing it's actually like this. We generate great bliss, we generate love and the qualities, and by that energy and blessing we generate our qualities that by it naturally our negativities go away. Okay? But on a process level, it's easier first to disconnect ourselves from our negativities, and then we allow ourselves to connect to the qualities. Okay? But our mind truly works like, to eliminate anger, I need to generate love. I need to generate patience. I need to generate the opposite of that thought. Okay. Now, where is our suffering coming from? From expectations. It's coming from anger. Dividing into parts. First of all, our suffering is coming from external conditions or from internal conditions? Mainly. Because if suffering would come from external conditions, let's say that most of us should not suffer, right? Let's put it clear. The external conditions we have, are them good enough to be happy? Do you have much physical suffering in your life? No, we don't. Our material development went to a direction that we were able quite well to avoid all sorts of physical suffering. We don't go through hunger, we don't go through thirst, very little. If it's hot, we have a nice cooling system. If it's cold, we have a nice heating system. If there is pain, we have something to take to put away the pain. We are able to deal with it. Does this mean that we are constantly happy and satisfied? No, because there is a lot of mental suffering, right? So, first thing important is our suffering is not coming from the external conditions. Because it's like the joke which I used to say about with the finger, no? Wherever I touch is painful. What is the sickness I have? Finger pain, no? The problem is not in my knee, the problem is not in my head, the problem is not in my shoulder, the problem is in my finger. So, but if I project it on the shoulder, on the knee, on the head, and I can try to heal the knee, finally, the problem is continuously in the finger. So, if we have our own insatisfaction and hatred and anger and so on, that's basically where our suffering is mainly coming from. Okay. I'm making it short. Basically, all our emotions and so-called mental defilements that generates us suffering, through which we act and so on, they come mainly from two forces, which is attraction and aversion. Okay? And our attraction and aversion are basically coming from one place, which is the obsession with self-gratification. I and my. No? So we experience something, we experience it pleasurable, what we generate? Attraction. From attraction we develop desire, I want, or attachment, oh this is my water, so good. But when the water finishes, I want more. Okay? If I drink and I don't like it, I have aversion. So this is very basic, the way how we work with this. Both the attraction and aversion, they manifest on levels that generate anxiety, generate fear, generate suffering on many different levels. And this is basically coming from our own selfishness. Now, one important characteristic that sustains our attraction and our aversion, hatred, jealousy, envy, and so on, is the fact that if I drink water and I like it, and I want to repeat that same experience of pleasure again, I project that the cause of my pleasure is drinking water. Correct? Okay. So, in my own perception, water exists as an object that will give me pleasure independently of anything else. Or not? Okay. But then if I continue to drink water, will I be always in pleasure? No, it depends also on the observer. It depends on so many things, that experience of pleasure. It's nothing to do only with the water. But when we have the object of attachment, we believe that it exists as an object that will give us pleasure and well-being by its own self, by its own characteristics. And let's say I don't like the water, so I really have aversion towards the water. Water is bad for me because the water is bad, or because I project it and so on. How do we experience? Water is bad out of its own characteristics, independently of anything else. Okay? So basically, both attraction and aversion, it has on its basis the concept that the object of attraction and the object of aversion exists in an independent, autonomous, objective way as such. It appears to us in this way, and we believe in it. We relate to it in that way. Okay? If we go deeper into analysis, we will see that no object of attraction or aversion exists as it appears to us. It exists in a complex interdependency. It is not independent, it is not autonomous, it is not objective, it is interdependent and subjective. Okay? But in order for our different emotions, such as anger or jealousy or envy or fear or miserliness, to exist, they can only exist on the basis of the grasping at inherent existence. In other words, anger is not able to keep up unless, on the basis of it, there is the strong certainty that the object of anger exists as such by its own self. That's on the basis. Okay? For example, is it possible to be in front of an object of anger and out of training say, okay, I don't want to get angry, so I will experience the object of anger as an opportunity to practice patience? It's possible or not? It's possible, right? Now, one example which I gave many times. Look at this object. What is this? It's a bell, right? We all agree. Okay? Why it is a bell? Stupid question. It's simply a bell. Okay? That's how it comes spontaneously. If I ask you why it's a bell, you'll say because it's a bell. What I have to do with it? Nothing, no? Okay. Can we use it as a glass to drink something? Possibly not hot because the metal will make the hand burn. But can I use it as a glass or not? Okay. So let's say from now on this is a glass, okay? And we should use it as a glass. So I have my own new tantric glass. And what happened is that and I tell you, okay, from now on, this object is not a bell anymore, it is a glass. How do we experience it? A bell being used as a glass or as an actual glass? How does it appear to us? A bell being used as a glass, right? Because for us, it is a bell by its own characteristics. It doesn't matter what I apply to it, okay? That's out of ignorance, but that's how we perceive. So, there is an enormous difference between seeing it as a bell that is being used as a glass, and seeing it as a glass. There's a big, big difference between the two. In the same way, there is an enormous difference being in front of the same object and seeing it as an object of anger that I experience as an opportunity to practice patience, and seeing the opportunity to practice patience. Or seeing the object of anger as an object of compassion and having the object of compassion. It's two different things. Because if I take the object of anger and I try to see it as an object of compassion, it's possible. But as long as I take away the effort to see it differently, it will again manifest as object of anger. Okay? But if we really look, what's the only difference between an object of anger and an object of compassion? The value attributed to it, apart from the observer. The same action can be seen as an object of anger, or it can be seen as an object of compassion. Oh, I'm so sorry that you act out of so much ignorance, creating harm for yourself and others. I really wish you not to act like this anymore. It's an object of compassion. Oh, why you do like this? That's terrible. I should kill you, you know. Object of anger. What makes the difference? The observer. Okay? So, I want just for you to understand that on the basis of attachment, on the basis of anger, on the basis of jealousy, of envy, of fear, of anxiety, on the basis of all our defilements, there is the grasping of the object of such emotion as being of inherent existence, as existing on an autonomous, independent, objective way. Okay? That's why I can do a lot to train myself in patience, to generate love and compassion, to be generous, and that's all wonderful. But if I don't change what is on the basis, which is the grasping of inherent existence, the grasping of autonomous, independent, objective existence, these emotions, they will simply manifest again. It's like if I cut the branches, but I leave the roots. As soon as there is water and sun and a fertile soil, it will grow again. Okay? So, yes, we need to cut the branches, but we also need to take away the roots. So we need to deal with our anger, with our jealousy, with our fear, and so on, but we need to take away also the roots. One of the ancient examples is like if there is a war, there is two ways. First you can deal with the soldiers, but truly, if you are able to deal with the generals and behind that with the king, once the king is down, the whole war is over. But if you don't deal with the king will always find new generals and new soldiers. Maybe it will take time because you win a battle. But as long as the king is there with the same intention, it will come back again. So who is the king of our defilements? There is one hidden king, and there is one, how do you call that? One like a regent. The one that is showing like the king, but is not the real king. Okay, he's like the one showing that he owns everything. All the generals, everything reports to him. But there is someone behind. Okay? The one that everyone reports to, it's selfishness. It's this strong, strong obsession with self-gratification. It's the total incapability of dealing with anyone and anything independently of the I and the my. Okay? And you know if you ever got angry where the I and the my had nothing to do. No. Or if you ever felt jealous or envy or anything like this where the I and the my had nothing to do. Not at all. Selfishness itself, this obsession with self-gratification, is coming from ignorance. Ignorance in Sanskrit is called avidya. A means a negation, not. Vidya comes from vid, which is the root of the word also in Latin videre, which is to see. So literally, avidya means to not see. Okay? So it's not seeing something. I am ignorant about that means I cannot see it. Okay? And there are two types of ignorance. The ignorance of not seeing and the ignorance of seeing wrong. I can have the ignorance in which I say, I don't know what is inside the bell. I am ignorant about what is inside the bell. And I can be sure that it's full of milk, which is wrong. So there is the ignorance of not seeing and the ignorance of seeing it wrongly. Okay? Our main ignorance is the ignorance of seeing wrongly. Because it's not that we don't know that things are interdependent. It would be quite good if we simply had no idea that things are interdependent. The problem is that we see things as being independent. We have the wrong perception. So we see reality as if it existed by itself, autonomously, independently. And we are also part of reality, so we see our own selves. We experience our own self. We have our own identity as if we are something, an entity that exists independently of the rest. Completely not related. Okay. Can you see me? Yes, I can see you also. Okay. So, when you look at me, and I look at you, how to say, do you exist right now here independently of me? Without philosophizing. Yes, no, I am here, you are there. What I have to do with you? Okay? Now, are we interacting? So what I am right now doesn't exist independently of what you are. I don't know if this is clear. Okay, I take one example. Okay, this dorje. Can you see? Is it big or small? Okay, now. Okay, I have two dorjes in my hand. Which one is the big one? This or this? This one is the big one, right? Why is this the big dorje? Because the other one is smaller. Okay. Now I take this one away, and now you imagine. I have another one here. Can you see it? Okay. Now which one is the big one? This is big or small? Small. Why? Because this one it's much bigger. Okay? So what defines something as big and small? What makes, and now, okay, can you see now comparing? This one now is big or small? Look here. This one is big. Okay? So what defines big or small? An inherent characteristic or a characteristic in relation to something else? Is a value attributed in comparison with another. So, big or small do not exist as an independent entity. Long and short. Does long exist independently of something else that we compare as being shorter? No. Okay? And like this we can go on and on. So, we can see that one doesn't exist without the other. So they are mutually dependent. If one exists, the other exists. If one doesn't exist, the other doesn't exist. It's like they're mutually dependent. It's like here and there. Here exists in relation to there. There exists in relation to here. Okay? That's why they are interdependent. Because they depend on each other. Not in a way that one exists independently and then they relate to each other. They do not exist without each other. Big doesn't exist without small, and small doesn't exist without the big. Okay? Similar to that, right now, when we look to each other, what you feel. Each one of us, we are made of what? Of body and mind. Okay? And your thoughts of the present moment, your emotions of the present moments, the way how you feel physically in the present moment, does it exist in relation to me? And to each one of the other persons that are in the room? But as we are talking, what you feel now, what you are now, does it exist in relation to me or not? And what I feel, my thoughts, my emotions, my body, it exists also in relation to you. So I do not exist in an independent way, autonomously, independently of everything that I interact with. Of the places that I go, the people that I am, the energies. There are so many levels of things. It's like the microorganisms in the body. There are like countless things. That the relation of all of this make up what I am. And you take one out, I am not the same. Okay? There is a phrase from Buddha in which Buddha says, Gelonda kuryoto kurkurwa poyoto. And it's one of the only citations of sutra which I feel Buddha being a bit sarcastic. It's like saying the opposite somehow. In which Buddha said, oh my dear monk, Gelonda, kuryoto kurkurwa poyoto. There is the luggage and the luggage carrier. The luggage is our body and mind, and the luggage carrier is the person. So if I ask you, do you have a body? What would you tell me? Without philosophizing, spontaneously. You have a body or not? Do you have a mind? Okay. Where is the owner of the body and the mind? Do you exist independently of body and mind? So how can you own it? The relationship of ownership requires that the owner can exist independently of what is being owned. Otherwise, you are not owning it, you are made of it. So truly, we do not have a body and we do not have a mind. We are made of body and mind. But do we feel like we have a body and we have a mind? And the owner of this body and the mind, the self, where is it? It doesn't exist. I'm not saying that the self doesn't exist. A self that exists independently of the body, of the mind, of the sensations, of the emotions, of the interactions and everything, does not exist. But yet, we perceive it as if it existed. And we relate to the world as if it existed in this way. So, when we look to each other, can you grab the idea that I do not exist independently of you? Right now? It's not easy, truly to accept it, to feel it. What I am, and I am the union of body and mind. In this union of body and mind, what I feel, what I perceive physically, mentally, on every level, it exists independent of everything else that I interact with. So, actually, I do not exist independently of everything. Make another example. Can you listen to the sound of the bell? Yes, right? We can all listen to the sound of the bell. Now, when we listen to the sound of the bell, there is a whole process going on. Basically, I have an intention, I hit the bell, the metal was done in a certain way that it creates a vibration, a movement. This movement creates a vibration in the air moves, arrives to our ear sense. Our ear sense have little sensors inside. They move with the vibration on different frequency, different sensors that are in there. This send messages to our ear sense consciousness, our brain. And the part of our mind say, okay, this sound is coming. And then what we do towards that sound, we attribute a value. And we say, okay, this is the sound of the bell. And we connect to previous experiences, memories, emotions, and so on. Okay, can we get that? If in the past, every time you listen to this sound, someone hit your head, and now I play the bell, is it a pleasurable sound? No. Or let's say that there was a moment of very strong sadness. For example, someone that you loved so much died and it was really difficult. And during the moment of the funeral or in the moment of a lot of suffering, there was the bell constantly being played. And now you listen to the bell again. Is it a pleasurable sound? It's sad. Okay? So, do you listen to the sound that I'm listening? Can you listen to the bell or not? Yes, right? Now comes the tricky question. If I ask to you, can you listen to the sound of the bell? You would say, yes. But are you listening to the same sound that I am listening? We expect, yes, but truly no. When I ask you, can you listen to the sound of the bell, I expect you to listen to the same sound that I am listening. But when I listen, first of all, where do I listen? In my ear or in my mind? In my mind. Because we perceive reality through our mind. Okay? So, the object of the sound, the vibration of the sound that arrive in my ear and that arrive in the ear of each one of you is the same or is it slightly different? No? If I am here, it's already different than if I am here. So the object arriving to the ear of each one of us is different. Our ear senses, does the ear of each one of us perceive all the frequencies in the same precise way? No. Our ear consciousness, our ear sound consciousness, does it perceive, is it the same or is it similar? The value that we attribute to the sound, is it the same or is it different? So, do you listen to the same sound that I listen? No, not at all. Now, we get to the point where I want to reach. The sound that I listen, okay? The sound that each one of you is listening, the sound of the bell that we listen, each one of us listen, does it exist independently of our own mind that perceives it? The sound that I listen, does it exist independently of my mind that perceives that specific sound? No. For example, for someone that for a neurological problem is deaf, can this happen? There is neurological issues that bring problem that a person is not listening. The ear side is perfect, but the connection is not working. Sound only exists as sound in the moment that it goes through the hearing process. Otherwise, it can be touch. It's possible to listen to the sound, let's say listen to the sound, but to feel the vibration as touch. Can we do that? Like I can feel here. Okay? Like bats. have a different way of feeling. Okay, space and sound and so on. So anyhow, so the sound that I listen does not exist independently of my own mind that perceives that specific sound. And I'm not talking about the mind in general. I'm talking about that specific perception. Is this clear? Now, the mind that perceives the sound, does it exist independently of the sound? Can I generate the mind that perceives sound without sound? Yes or no? No. No way. But the sound also doesn't exist without the mind that perceives it. So who comes first? The egg or the chicken? There is no coming first. One does not exist without the other. They are mutually dependent. My mind that perceives the sound exists because there is sound. The sound that I experience exists because there is the mind that perceives it. They are mutually dependent. And from this we go to the non-duality between inner reality and outer reality. You remember the first day we were talking a little bit about this. Inner experience and outer experience. No? Inner reality and outer reality. So, if we go deeper, we will see that the level of interdependence is that inner experience, mind, and external objects of perception, they are mutually dependent. One doesn't exist independently of the other. It's not my mind that exists separated and it is listening to the sound. Or the sounds that is being perceived by the mind. One doesn't exist without the other. I don't know if this is clear. Yes, no, more or less? Okay? So, the interesting thing is that the perception of this division, this separation, in which I am here, you are there, I am here, the sound is there. This separation through which we experience reality in every moment, it's what is creating selfishness. Is what is creating this obsession with self-gratification, which is creating, together with the obsession with self-gratification and ignorance, is creating anger, aversion, fear, miserliness, and so on, that ends up in suffering. What is suffering? In a way, suffering, it's a mechanism that we all have to show to us that we are out of harmony. Suffering is a mechanism which is actually a very important mechanism, which is telling us something is out of place, something is not in harmony, not in balance. So, for example, physical suffering, it's like an alarm ringing saying something is wrong in your body, something is not going well in your body. There is no balance, no perfect harmony. And when we have mental suffering, it means there is unbalance in the mind. The unbalance of our mind, which brings unbalance to the body, by the choices we make and so on the very, very subtle level, on the most small, where is the beginning? What is the vortex generating this unbalance? The fact that we experience ourself and reality in an inconsistent, incoherent way. Okay? We see impermanent reality as permanent. We see interdependent reality as being independent, autonomous, objective. Okay. So, how can we deal with it? We need to generate a mind that is directly opposite. Okay? Let's imagine one diagram. On top, we put one object. Let's say the sound. Okay, we have the sound of the bell on top. So the sound of the bell exists. On one side we make a line and we put another drawing here. It's made of basically 4 parts, okay? The sound exists as it appears, being of independent, objective, autonomous reality. Okay? This is our ignorance. In our ignorance mind we say the bell is or exists as it appears. And how does it appear? As something that exists independently, autonomously, objectively. Okay? Where goes wisdom? The sound of the bell is not, doesn't exist, is empty of, whatever way we like to say, but is not existing as it appears, being independently objective, autonomous. So ignorance says the bell is of inherent existence. Wisdom says the bell lacks inherent existence. Because to have a direct opposite mode of apprehension, we need the top and the bottom to be the same. The only thing that changes is that one perceives in one way, the other perceives in the direct opposite, but the same thing. So the sound is autonomous, objective. The sound is not autonomous, objective. Why? Because it is interdependent. So, one other example. Me and you. Do we exist independently of each other in this very right moment, to be precise? No. How do we appear to ourselves? Do we appear as being interdependent, or we appear to ourselves as being independent, autonomous of each other? We appear as being independent, autonomous, and objectively. Okay? So, we do the same thing. Me and you, okay, is the top. Lower bottom, existing independently, as we appear. We are. So, we are independently, objectively, as we appear. This is our ignorance. What is the wisdom? We are not independently objective as we appear. Okay? The interesting thing is that ignorance and wisdom, they are so similar. The only difference is that one affirms and the other negates. The same thing. That's the way to have a direct opposite. Because I can say, me and you, we appear as being completely independent, and I grasp and I experience ourselves as being independent. Okay? And it's interesting because I can still put two incoherent concepts together. I can think, okay, I exist independently of you, but we are connected. I can even say we are interdependent, but still I exist independently of you. Which is completely wrong, but we can still perceive in this way. What we cannot perceive is I don't exist independently of you, and I do exist independently of you. These two things cannot fit together. Okay? So the point is that we cannot perceive the interdependence in which we exist. So we need to generate the opposite. So basically it's me and you appears as being existing independently of each other. It is, in this way, is ignorance. Wisdom says, me and you are empty or do not exist as being independently of each other, objectively independently of each other. Why? Because we are interdependent. Okay? Can you understand this process? Okay? This is called the king of the logics to realize emptiness. It's something we study for years. I'm just trying to bring it simple. Okay?
Is it called shunyata?
Shunyata, literally tongpani in Tibetan, is called emptiness. But emptiness, basically, it's a terminology which is very important, but very often can bring to wrong understanding. Because the terminology of emptiness can bring to the term that something doesn't exist. So it's not that me and you are empty so we don't exist. We are empty of something. Of what? Of existing independently. Okay, if we take the example, me and you, do we exist independently of each other? No. Do we appear as existing independently of each other? Yes. So grasping at this appearance is ignorance. Saying that this appearance is false is wisdom. So, me and you, we are empty of existing independently of each other. Okay? All of this to say that one of the keys in the whole path of Buddhism and in self-healing, it comes again and again, okay, is we need to develop two parts, which is called method and wisdom. Method, symbolized also by holding the Vajra, is basically love and compassion. Okay? So it's very important to have this attraction for happiness of oneself and others, to open our heart. It's fundamentally important. Okay? On the other side, we have wisdom, symbolized by the bell. When wisdom is the perception of reality in a consistent way. Is the fact that reality appears as being of inherent existence, but we know that it is not. Wisdom is the fact of being able to see that everything exists interdependently. And because of that, it doesn't exist as it appears, autonomously, independently. That's wisdom. And the two together is what symbolizes enlightenment. Okay? In Vajrayana, the method, it also symbolizes bliss. This inner state of joy, of pleasure. It's a non-conceptual state of mind, which it's what we can get most similar, most near to that state of mind is when we experience any pleasure. From the pleasure of eating something nice to the pleasure of orgasm to any type of pleasure. Okay? This state that is non-conceptual of pleasure state, it's very much what's most similar to this state called bliss. So, why bliss is important is because bliss allows us easily to go out of a conceptual state. When we experience bliss, we are in the present moment. In the moment we experience bliss, where is our mind? In the past, present, or future? Present. While we are experiencing bliss, are we judging? Are we interpreting? Or we are just experiencing it? You know? There is one great Tibetan scholar called Amdo Gendun Chöpel. He was an incredible scholar and practitioner, very special. There is even a whole system of people that follow his tradition nowadays, like something outside of Buddhism, like different from all other Buddhist traditions, Gendun Chöpel. And he was a very controversial person. But anyhow, he went to India and he wrote a commentary on the Kama Sutra. And there is one part in his commentary, actually, the introduction, the first part of the commentary, it's very beautiful in many aspects. But there is one part in which he says, the bliss is blissful, the quality of bliss, of pleasure, is that it naturally makes you stop the conceptual thinking. So the power, why bliss is so good? Because finally the mind can relax. And he's an incredible poet, he was. So he put everything in beautiful verses and so on. But there is this concept that bliss brings the mind to stop conceptualizing the past, the future, the present. So it naturally brings the mind to a more deeper level of existence. Now, our mind have two different aspects, but one aspect is that we are not able to have two direct opposite thoughts at the same time, correct? But our ignorance can be on three different levels. We have conceptual and gross level ignorance, which means I am thinking you exist independently of me. So in order to oppose that, what do I need? I need to think you do not exist independently of me, and I do not exist independently of you. We are mutually dependent. Okay? So this means I can oppose that level. But the problem is that the ignorance in which we see reality and oneself existing independently, objectively, and so on, exists in a gross level, in a subtle level, and in a very subtle level. In a non-conceptual level and in a level of imprint, in a level of predisposition. So, to eliminate the subtle level, I need to generate the wisdom on a non-conceptual, subtle level. To oppose ignorance on a very subtle level, I need to generate wisdom at a very subtle level. Okay? And a great part of all the practices of Vajrayana, including self-healing, is intended ultimately to generate, on the basis of love and compassion, to generate wisdom from a gross level to a subtle, and from a subtle to a very subtle level. Because once we are able to generate wisdom with love on a subtle level, we oppose our own ignorance and selfishness on a subtle level. And when we are able to generate it in a very subtle level, we are opposing ignorance and selfishness on a very subtle level. It's like going to the center and taking away the root, taking away the center of the whole thing. Okay? And the method, the tool that is being used to take us to the center is great bliss. So when you go in Vajrayana Buddhism, you will listen again and again and again and again on the union of great bliss and emptiness. And in self-healing it comes up again and again. So the union of great bliss and emptiness basically is that great bliss is the observer, is the state of mind. It's similar to the fact when we listen to the bell. Can I listen to the sound of the bell while I am happy? And can I also listen to the sound of the bell while I am sad? Is it possible? Yes. So the state of mind is the observer. Okay? The sound of the bell is the object being observed. So great bliss is the state of mind, is the observer. And emptiness is the object being observed. Okay? So the union of great bliss and emptiness is basically great bliss as a state of mind, as a state of being. And emptiness is what is being perceived. Is shunyata is basically the lack of inherent existence of something. Of oneself, of sensation, of an external phenomena, whatever. So great bliss is the vehicle that can allow the practitioner to go from a gross level to a subtle, and from a subtle to a very subtle level. Okay? Because true bliss, the stronger is the bliss, the more all the subtle energy winds go inside the central channel. And when they go inside the central channel, we lose contact with the external senses, and we lose contact on a conceptual mind. It goes deeper and deeper. So we have great bliss and emptiness, that they go together. And the experience is said to be like mixing milk and water. The two are there, but you cannot distinguish anymore one from the other. Okay? So when we go all the big important commentaries on Vajrayana, the whole explanation is divided into 3 parts. How to generate bliss, how to realize emptiness, how to put the two together. Okay? If we take the complete commentary on the completion stage of Guya Samaja written by Lama Tsongkhapa, Rimna Saldrun, and so on, it's basically divided into those 3 things. How to generate bliss, how to realize emptiness, and how to put the two together. Going from a gross to subtle to very subtle level. Okay? And the whole practice of self-healing, the ultimate part, which is when we finish, we are doing Om Bishwa Shanti Hum, no? On a gross level, Bishwa Shanti means we are dedicating to peace. Okay? By the power of the truth, peace and bliss now and forever. On an actual, more deeper level of practice, this is the moment in which the practitioner is supposed to meditate on the union of great bliss and emptiness on a very subtle level, which is called clear light. Okay? Clear light is the name given to the very subtle mind. Illusory body is the name given to the very subtle body. Okay? During this moment of practice. So now, during the practice, there is again and again moments in which we are supposed to put the two together. And the moment which I wanted to explain today, which we will do now together, it has this objective. Because another thing special of Vajrayana is that in the sutra system, first we develop shamatha, which is single-pointed concentration. Then after that, we developed Lakton, or Vipassana, which is called profound view. These are 2 different types of meditative states. In Vajrayana, it's developed together. Okay? It's a particular thing of Vajrayana practice. So basically, for example, what are the mudras of the 5 Dhyani Buddhas? Okay, we start with Amoga Siddhi, mudra of no fear, Ratna Sambhava, generosity, Akshobhya, stability, Amitabha, concentration, Vairocana, wisdom of teaching the Dharma. What is similar between the 5 mudras? What doesn't change? The left hand. Left and right. Right is method, action. Left is wisdom. Wisdom is not conceptual, it's the perception of reality. So the wisdom is in the same place, no moving. It's the mudra of concentration, of meditative concentration. So the left hand being always in the same place is symbolizing that in the whole process we change action and manifestation. But one part of our mind is single-pointed on the lack of inherent existence. So there is a part of our mind which is great bliss. In a blissful state, we realize that nothing exists inherently as it appears. Okay? And this is symbolized by the left hand. It's always there. The right hand is symbolizing appearance, relative reality. So everything appears to me in different ways. We can eliminate fear, we can be generous, we can bring stability, we can go to concentration, we can share the Dharma. There are different actions that can be done. But everything that is done and everything that appears is empty of inherent existence. And I perceive it through great bliss. Okay? So in the very beginning of the practice, we need to generate bliss, and within the state of bliss, perceive emptiness. And then, this is, during the whole practice, ideally, we should keep a continuation of this. So we will see the channels and the chakras and the Buddhas, the 6 syllables and the symbols and the Buddhas, and we emanate light and we see sentient beings and then we help them and then it comes back, and so many things are happening. But everything that happens has different appearance, but they're all of the nature of being empty of inherent existence, experienced through great bliss. Okay? So to do that, first of all, we need to generate bliss and emptiness. Okay? So in which part of the practice we are generating bliss? in the beginning of the practice. Eyam Ram Lambam. Okay? So, how do we do that? Bliss is mental or physical? Physical. Bliss is mostly something physical. It's not mental. Okay? Sure, body and mind are together, remember, no? But the way how it manifests is mainly through the body, then through the mind. Can we generate bliss by a thought? Yes. But it's connected very much to the body and the senses. For example, we do, no? Argam, Padyam, Pushpe, Dube, Aloke, Gende, Nevidye, Shapta, make the offerings. You see, in many Vajrayana practices, there is again and again offerings. Why do we make offerings? Because through the senses we generate bliss, and we need to connect ourselves to bliss. For example, try to remember a moment in which you touched someone or you were touched by someone that generated a moment of pleasure. Can you connect to that? Okay. It can be a memory of your childhood or a recent memory, someone that we care for with affection or whatever, and someone touches us nicely, and by receiving that touch, we generate a sensation of pleasure. Can we get to that? Okay? And if you prefer taste or smell or sound, it's also okay. When we connect ourselves to that memory, try to remember that moment. Does it move something inside or not? Or we are indifferent to it? If you think, well, it moves. And if you imagine yourself in that situation again, and the more you go strongly into that imagination, the more you can feel back that bliss. Okay? So the bliss is a mental experience, but it comes through the senses. Okay? So it's also physical. So we need to generate bliss through a natural process of our body. There are different levels of bliss. At this point, what we will do is that it is said that the center of bliss is in our crown chakra. Okay? The place where basically the substance that generates bliss, which we call the white bodhicitta, it resides mainly at our crown chakra. Okay? And it is of a cool nature. And in order to experience this bliss, we need to generate heat that comes from below the navel, which is called the red bodhicitta also. Okay? So, what we will do in the practice is that first we purify space element, and as we purify the space, it creates the right conditions for the other elements to interact well within each other. Then having all the space, it's focused on the crown chakra, but the space is everywhere. Okay. Then once that is finished, then as we purify the wind, we imagine the wind with the sound of yam and green in color, it starts from our tool, the sole of our feet. And it moves upwards through our legs. And the winds go downwards also to our secret chakra. And the winds joined in our secret chakra, and then as it gets purified, it goes beautifully inside the central channel. And as all the winds enter into the central channel, all our attention goes away from our external perception, and our perception goes only inside the central channel. So we inhale, we bring the energy down, we bring the energy upwards, all the winds go inside the central channel. And it's like a constant inflow of air. It's coming inside the central channel. Gradually, all our different prana, our different winds, they are going inside the central channel. As they move inside the central channel, they go upwards from the secret chakra towards our navel. 3 fingers below the navel is this navel chakra. And the navel chakra is fire. So there is a triangular fire. And we don't visualize as a little red triangle that we cut and paste in our navel chakra. It is actual fire. So we visualize actual fire red in color, that vibrates with the sound of Ram. And as the air goes more and more in, the fire grows. So we focus on our navel chakra. This is small fire with the sound of Ram. And the fire starts going up, 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 stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger. And then the fire touches the ground, earth, at our chest. So at our heart chakra, there is the square earth. Again, it's not like a little drawing of a yellow square. It's actual yellow earth. And our whole thorax, our whole center part of the body, it's made of earth, and the heat starts moving up. And as the heat goes up, 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 mainly inside the central channel, the heat's moving up, 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 it reaches our throat. In the throat is like a lake on the earth. There is a round lake of water. There is round white water of Bam. And the water starts to heat. And as the water heats, it starts to evaporate. Not that the lake empties, no. It's like a spring hot water, it starts to evaporate. And then the heat goes towards our crown chakra. As the water evaporates, goes to the crown chakra, where it condenses and melts the white bodhicitta. And then the white bodhicitta starts to descend. And as it descends, it goes inside the central channel, and we imagine like inside the central channel there is this white substance of cool in nature that starts to melt. And as it melts coming downwards, at every chakra it enters all the different channels. So in the crown chakra there are the 32 channels, and the bodhicitta enters, this white substance enters into it. And then it continues to go down, and then when it arrives in the throat, it enters the different channels on the throat chakra, going through the whole body. And like this it goes through the 5 chakras. And as the substance goes through our body, it brings an incredible sensation of bliss, of pleasure. And we feel it going through the body until it goes to our secret chakra, and then we can feel this pleasure from the top of our head to the toes and to the whole body. And we allow ourselves to be there, to experience this sensation of pleasure. And then, within this state of pleasure, we can see clearly that pleasure itself, or our own existence, everything, whatever is appearing to us, appears as if it existed independently, but actually it is not. It lacks such independently objective reality. And then we allow ourselves to stay in this state of bliss that perceives that nothing exists. In particular, whatever we are perceiving, like bliss itself or our own identity, we appear as if we existed independently, but we do not. We exist in a complex, interdependent reality. So we lack such autonomous, independent, objective reality. And we stay into that state. Okay? This is the moment of the practice in which we generate this. Okay? And the more we can do it, is something that we need to train for many, many years. But we need to start somewhere. So we do together. Okay? We did all the explanation before, because the visualization itself is simple, but we need to connect with something when we say it's empty of what. Okay? Kyabche Papunka Deche Nyingpo, he described that the bliss, in order when you generate bliss, try to remember a moment of great pleasure that you experienced. Okay? And remember, pleasure, we are not talking about joy, we're talking about physical pleasure, like this type of pleasure that overwhelms the whole being and there is no space for any other thoughts. Normally, whenever mostly people have it, it's like we have it for an instant. It doesn't last long. Okay? So imagine this pleasure that is bring back the memory, and as it goes down, imagine it's like a crescendo, no? The pleasure goes bigger and bigger. So that's why we say, Chiwane Drimbana Lebana Gawa, Drimbana Nyinga Lebana Choga, and so on, which is as the bliss goes from the crown to the throat, you experience bliss. Then you experience great bliss. Extremely great bliss, spontaneously great bliss. It's like a crescendo. It's like it goes stronger and stronger, and we get more and more overwhelmed by bliss. And within that blissful state, we see that whatever is appearing to us, like our own identity, our own self, doesn't exist independently as it appears. It's empty of inherent existence. We bring that understanding back. Okay? And then we just allow ourselves to be in that state. And then after that, we should keep that perception as we go on with the rest of the practice. Okay. So let's do it. When you do by yourself, you should have no particular hurry. You can take your own time. And just the part of the purification of the elements by itself is a complete practice, actually. Okay? So normally when we do all the mudras and we sing the mantras, it's actually showing us what we need to do inside. Okay? But when we do in a longer process, we just sit in meditation and then we concentrate on the meditations in each chakras. So we do the practice briefly together. We sit in a comfortable position with our back straight but not tense. Shoulders relaxed. Mouth relaxed. Our eyes are slightly closed, looking downwards. We allow ourselves to be present in the present moment as we bring our attention to our own breath. We can see clearly our body as a body of light. We have a central channel, a left and a right channel. In the space in front of us is Guru Buddha smiling at us. From the heart of Guru Buddha, light manifests, entering through our nostrils and cleaning up all the negative energies, the sort of energetic garbage which was generated through our own emotions and actions. As we do the 9-cycle breathing, we eliminate every energetic garbage or blockage that was generated in the recent or faraway past. We do the Vajra fist and follow with the 9-cycle breathing.
as we inhale and exhale. We can see clearly our body as a body of light with a strong and clear central channel. With the right and the left channel clean and clear, smaller and weaker than the central channel. In the space in front of us is Guru Buddha. From his 5 chakras comes light and nectar as we request his blessings. White, red, blue. Then once again, white, red, blue, yellow and green light and nectar manifest from the chakras of Guru Buddha, absorbing to our own chakras, blessing us in order for us to develop our qualities, to eliminate our defilements. In particular, we request Guru Buddha to bless us, to generate great bliss, and through great bliss to realize the true nature of oneself and others, the true nature of reality, emptiness, shunyata. From the depths of our hearts, we request Guru Buddha to bless us. Locho sampo pa gyu trashi pa tu che tempe trin le yarmoda pel gedro lor tampe te parce pal de la me shabla solvade. Oma Guru Vajradhara Sumati Muni Sane Karma Utavardanye Shri Bhadra Varsamanya Sarva Siddhi Hum Hum Guru Vajradhara Sumati Muni Shasane Karma Utavardanye Shri Bhadra Varsama Sarva Siddhi Hum Hum Guru Vajradhara Sumati Muni Shasane Karma Utavardanye Shri Bhadra Varsamanya Hum Om Guru Buddha Siddhi 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 Hum. We purify space at our crown with the sound of E.
wind at the secret chakra with Yam, fire with Ram at the navel, earth with Lam at the heart, and water with Bam at the throat. The wind enters the central channel, the fire grows, it hits the water, it hits the earth, it boils the water, which goes towards the crown chakra, condenses and melts the white bodhicitta. Eya Ram Lam Bam Shuddha Shuddha Swaha Eho Shuddha Shuddha Swaha Yam Ho Shuddha Shuddha Swaha Ramo Shuddha Shuddha Swaha Lam Ho Shuddha Shuddha Swaha Bam Ho Shuddha Shuddha Swaha Eya Ram Lam Bam Shuddha Shuddha Swaha. As we inhale, we bring all the subtle energy winds downwards towards our secret chakra, and we bring all the energies upwards from the sole of our feet upwards towards the secret chakra. All our subtle energy winds, the element wind, green in color, vibrating with the sound of Yam, enters our central channel from within the secret chakra. Yama, 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 Ho, Shuddha, Shuddha, Swaha. Bring our full attention to our secret chakra, where we focus all our energy as the wind enters the central channel in the secret chakra. The wind moves upwards, igniting the fire at our navel. 3 fingers below the navel, inside our central channel, it's a small fire. It is red in color and vibrates with the sound of Ram. And as the wind touches it, it ignites and becomes stronger and stronger. Rama, 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 Ram, Ram, Ho, Shuddha, Shuddha, Swaha. We focus our complete attention at our navel. With the sound of Ram, the fire grows stronger and stronger. As we breathe in, we bring the air below our navel to our secret chakra. The wind goes into the central channel and makes the fire to grow. the heat of the fire moves upwards, it touches our heart, where it heats and purifies the earth, yellow in color with the sound of Lama. The fire, we continue to focus on the wind that goes inside the central channel. The fire grows, continues to grow, hitting the earth at our heart. Lama, 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 Lam, Lam, Ho, Shuddhe, Shuddhe, Swaha. The heat of the fire heats the earth, and the heat of the earth moves gradually upwards, touching the water at our throat. As the heat touches the water starts to move like a dance. And as it moves, it gets warmer and warmer. It evaporates, going towards the crown. As it touches our crown with the warmth, it melts the white bodhicitta. And it all descends like a beautiful rain of nectar. Bama, 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 Bam, Bam, Ho, Shuddhe, Shuddhe, Swaha. The wind blows, the fire grows, the earth heats, the water moves and evaporates. The white bodhicitta is melted, and it descends as a rain of nectar inside our central channel, filling the whole body and mind with bliss. Our body and mind are overwhelmed with bliss as it moves downwards from the crown to the throat to the heart to the navel to the secret chakra. It gradually enters each and every part of our body, feeling a profound sensation of bliss that overwhelms both body and mind. Within a state of bliss, we see that we appear to ourselves as existing independently, objectively, when actually we only exist independence of every sensation, every object of perception, every thought, emotion, of everything that we interact with. We do not exist independently, objectively. Not even the sensation itself, not even a thought, not even the slightly part of a thought or a sensation. Each and everything only exists in a complex interdependence, mutually dependent. So it lacks such inherent existence. All phenomena are of a pure nature as they lack inherent existence, and so am I. Om Swabhava Shuddha Sarva Dharma Swabhava Shuddha. We allow ourselves to rest in the union of great bliss and emptiness. As we keep the awareness of bliss and emptiness, we remain in a blissful state within. We perceive once again the world around us and everything that appears to us as sound and form and taste and smell and touch and memories and projections. They all lack autonomous, independent, objective reality as they appear. Guru Buddha in front of us comes towards us, enters from our crown, and joyfully sits in an 8-petaled lotus at our heart. Our body, speech, and mind becomes inseparable with that of Guru Buddha. Our mind and body melts with the mind and body of Guru Buddha. And through the force of his presence, we experience great bliss and emptiness on a deeper level, which is the actual state of body and mind of Guru Buddha. Pakyuke kudan dagi lu, pakyuke sungdan dagi nga, pakyuke tukdan dagi yi, ten yerme chikto chingi olo, makyuke kudan dagi, makyuke sungdan dagi nga, makyuke tukdan dagi yi, ten yerme chikto chingi olo. Guru Buddha remains in our heart, and our mind, speech, and body remains inseparable from his. Within a state of peace, with bliss and joy, we perceive the world around us as we commit to act for the benefit of others, to follow the path of the 6 perfections, in order to develop ourselves to help every sentient being to get out of suffering. Lama kuncho sumla kyapsu chi rangi la se dotri sungne chu donga chu sun nyer chu tadad Gecho kundu chishin drudunchi, dorna ditsun namkara gewetso, chinye sabate. Norbo banzo shamba larke, lame lamge rimba tarchi. Nimo dele tsendele, nime kuyan dele. Ninsen takto delekpe, kuncho sumke chingi lob, kuncho sumke ngodrutsol, kuncho sumke trashishon. At dawn or dusk, at night or midday, may the three jewels grant us their blessings. May they help us to achieve all realizations and spring all the path of our lives with various signs of auspicion. All'alba o al tramonto, di notte o durante il giorno, possano i tre gioielli concederci le loro benedizioni, possano aiutarci ad ottenere tutte le realizzazioni e cospargere il sentiero con molti segni di buon auspicio. De sol a sol, à noite ou ao meio. Possam as três joias conceder-nos suas bênçãos. Possam as três joias ajudar-nos a alcançar todas as realizações. Possam as três joias espalhar muitos sinais auspiciosos no caminho de nossas vidas. Al amanecer o al anochecer, por la noche o durante el día, puedan las tres joyas concedernos sus bendiciones, puedan ayudarnos a obtener todas las realizaciones y colmar el sendero de nuestras vidas con muchos signos de buenos auspicios. Puisse les trois joyeux nous dispenser toutes les réalisations, puisse les trois joyeux remplir notre vie de signes et de bon augure. Buon appetito.